Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Now Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. This is the third section of this chapter. In the first verses, we find that Arjuna had asked a question to Lord Sri Krishna as to what he should do, whether he should renounce action or he should do the action. And in reply, Lord Krishna talks about various options available for Arjuna, and he suggests that for Arjuna, the path of action is recommended. Why? Because Arjuna is a Kshatriya warrior, and the scriptures have prescribed certain duties for Kshatriya warriors, and Arjuna is obliged to follow the scriptural injunctions. He cannot not do his duty. Doing so, that is, not doing his duty, will incur sin. So in the verse 1 and 2 we find Arjuna's question, and then in the next few verses, that is from verse number 3 to 10, Lord Krishna is talking about the renunciation and action. How renunciation, when taken prematurely, will be a disaster, because a premature renouncer or a premature sannyasi has outwardly renounced action, but inwardly his mind is still lingering on the worldly things. It would be like being a pretender. Therefore, one is advised to follow one's prescribed duty based on one's ashram or one's varna. Varna ashrama, there are prescribed duties given. So one is obliged to do those duties. So this was spoken in verse number 3 to 10. And from verse 11 to 16, we find that Krishna is further elaborating on what he means by doing one's duty, or what is the karma. And Krishna starts off from a basic level. He starts off from what is called as karma kanda. Karma kanda means fruitive activities. We all do work for getting a certain result. We have an objective, we have a goal, and then we do some work to achieve that goal. And then we get the result of that work. Students study in the school to pass the exam, okay, and then get a job. And people do job or they work to earn money. So there is always an expectation of a result of any action. If the expectation of a result is not there, people would not do any work. So Krishna starts off from the basic level of karma kanda, which is a fruitive work. And in that section, verse number 11 to 16, Lord Krishna talks about how every living entity or every person, every human being on this planet is using all the resources of the nature. The nature has given us water, fire, wind, sun, moon, all these we are using. So we are obligated to return back, because we can't just use it. These material nature, the nature is providing us all these things, and this is facilitated by the managers of these things. For example, there are demigods who are facilitating. For example, Indra is facilitating the rains, and we are using the rains to grow crops. So we are obligated to return some, to give some offering to those demigods, and that is how it is. And Lord Krishna says, I've designed the world to be like this. So this section talks about karma kanda. Now, moving on, the next nearly 20 verses, that is from verse number 17 up to verse number 36, Lord talks about the higher 35 actually. The Lord talks about the higher karma. Karma kanda or fruitive activity is the lower karma, and then moving on there is a higher karma. And what is that? So this section talks about Nishkam Karma Yoga. You are doing your prescribed duty but without expecting anything in return. Nishkama. Kama means desire. Nishkama means without desire. So the verse number 17, Lord says, Yastvatmaratirev syat atmatriptascha manava atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. So here, Lord talks about a person who is completely satisfied in himself. His self-realized soul, and he does not have to work. But he still works. See, that is a catch. This person is completely satisfied in himself. He is not depending on anything of outside himself or anything. He has no desires. He has no attachment. He is completely detached. And he is completely in knowledge. And he is completely satisfied. Yet he works. Now one may wonder, why would such a person do any work if he is completely satisfied and desireless and detached? In this verse, the key word is Atmarati. Atmarati means the one who is satisfied in himself. Atmarati. Atmatriptas. Again, it means somebody who is fully satisfied in himself. He does not have any obligation to do any prescribed work. He has no taste for material pleasures, and he has no purpose in performing any work, and he has no purpose in not performing a work. He can do the work or he cannot do the work. Both ways he is okay. He is completely detached. And he has no need to depend on anybody. Nobody, he is dependent on nobody. Not even the demigods. Now in the previous section, Lord Krishna talks about how we have to depend on the demigods for our material desires, and demigods are providing us all the sunlight and air and water and all that. But this person is so elevated that he is not even expecting anything from the nature. He is completely peaceful and happy in himself. Atmarati. So for such a person there is no duty. And in the verse number 18, Lord says, Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartha vyapashrayah. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform the work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Verse number 17 and 18 talks about such a self-realized soul. Are we in that platform? No, we are not. So only those very rarest of the rare people are in that platform of complete non-dependence on anything external. And in the 19th verse, Lord says, talks about doing the obligatory work with detachment. In the previous section, Karma Kanda, it was doing the obligatory work to appease the demigods, and so there is an expectation of a result. But now Lord talks about complete detachment, at the same time doing one's work. It is something like saying, in the previous section I talked about how a student goes to attend the lectures, he sits for the lectures, he listens to it, he writes the exam, then he passes the exam and he gets a degree, right? He has to follow all those procedures in order to get his degree. But imagine somebody who's already got a degree, who has already passed the exam. He comes back and he sits in the class and he listens to the lectures and he writes the exam. See, this is like that. A person who is completely in the platform of Jnana Yoga, he's completely detached, completely in knowledge, yet he is doing his prescribed duty. Or another example can be that of a teacher in a kindergarten. The teacher knows ABC, but she is teaching the little kids, A, this is A, it goes like this. A, he or she keeps repeating and she writes it on the board. She knows it, but she is doing it out of a kindness to teach others. So, therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. So here Lord talks about a person who is already completely a jnani, completely detached, completely desireless, yet he is doing his duty. So he is working dutifully with detachment, and now Arjuna is wondering, is there any person like that? We all do work because we expect some return. If there is no expectation of anything out of the work, why would anybody do any work? It doesn't make sense. So, reading Arjuna's mind, Lord Krishna replies in the next example, why would anybody do such a work? The reason is to set an example for the common man. The teacher in the kindergarten who is writing A, who's holding the little hand of the child and writing along with the child, this is A, it is like this. The teacher knows it, but she is writing it to show it to the children. Similarly, a person, a jnani, a person who is in the platform of Jnana Yoga, who is completely detached and knowledgeable and desireless, he is still doing the work, obligatory work. Though he doesn't have to, he's still doing it only for one reason. And what is that reason? To set an example for others to follow. Now Arjuna, in his mind, he must have wondered, who is such a person? Reading Arjuna's mind, Lord Krishna says, Janaka Maharaja, the father of Mother Sita, Janaka Maharaja was a completely liberated person, a knowledgeable person, detached person, yet he did all his obligatory duties. He ruled a kingdom, he was a great king, he raised a family, he did everything, all the duties, though he didn't have to. He did it only to set a right example for other people. So, in the verse number 20, Lord says, Karmaneva hi samsiddhim astita janakadaya lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So why you should perform your work? Arjuna is a warrior. If he decides, if he thinks that, oh, I am a completely detached person, I know about the soul now, let me just go away from the battle, go to the forest and meditate. He's setting a wrong example for others. He is a very influential warrior, and other Kshatriyas will look at his behavior and they might imitate him. They might also feel that, oh, Arjuna has left the war field, battleground, so maybe it is okay for us to do it. So Arjuna is setting a wrong example if he leaves the battlefield. So in order to set a right example for others to follow, one must do one's prescribed duty just as Janaka Maharaj did. Krishna says, he gives his own example. I myself, now in the next few verses, Krishna will say that he himself has no obligatory duty to perform, yet he is doing his duty to set a right example. And in the verse number 21, Lord says, Yad yad acharati shreshtas tat tat evetaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standard he sets by exemplary act, all the world pursues. So a person, a knowledgeable person, a detached person has to do the right thing just to set an example for others. So in the 21st verse, Lord says, the common people follow the actions of great men. So the leaders have a responsibility on their shoulders, because people look up to the leaders and they follow their action. So whatever a leader does, it has an impact on a lot of people. For example, a leader is preaching about not smoking and he is himself smoking. That would not work. A leader has to show by his own personal example, by his own action, what he is expecting others to do. An example of this is Lord Krishna and Janaka Maharaj. In the verse number 22, Lord says about his own example. He says, Name parthasi kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptavamaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in the prescribed duty. So Krishna says, there is nothing that I want, and I don't need anything. I am not in want of anything. I have no desire, yet I am performing my duty. You see, when Krishna was in Golok Vrindavan, he was a cowherd boy. He used to he used to graze the cows, and he used to take care of the cows. And then he moved to Mathura. He had a obligatory duty of a Kshatriya, and he would do the administrative works of a Kshatriya. So Krishna, by his own example, he's showing the world how a person who is not in need of anything, who's already situated in the platform of Jnana, he still is performing his duty just to set a right example. And in the verse number 23, Lord says, Yadi hyaham na varteyam jatu karmanya tandrita mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Lord Krishna says, for if I failed ever to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. So a great leader has a great responsibility for setting a right example. So Lord says, if I fail to engage in my duty, all men would follow my path, and then I would be responsible for putting the whole world into ruination, and that will be the cause of creating unwanted population. And this Krishna is referring to Arjuna's concern in the first chapter about Varna Shankara, unwanted population. And I would therefore destroy the peace of all living beings if I don't engage in my prescribed duty. So here one has to understand that the lawmaker is beyond the law. Krishna is the lawmaker, and therefore Krishna is completely independent. There is no duty prescribed for Lord Krishna. He can do if he wants, and he cannot do if he wants to. But he is still doing it. There is no duty that is written for Lord Krishna that he has to do it. He does whatever Lord does out of his infinite compassion for the living beings. But he doesn't have to do anything. He does it out of his causeless mercy. So Lord Krishna has no obligatory duty to perform, but still he performs. Why? To teach us by his example. And Srila Prabhupada also makes a point that we are not expected to imitate Lord Krishna. Some people can say things like, oh, Lord Krishna danced with so many gopis, let me also dance. No, you cannot imitate Lord Krishna, because Krishna expanded himself into 1,000 forms. Can you do it? No, you cannot do it. So don't imitate him. Lord Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill on a little finger for 7 days and 7 nights. Can you do it? No, you cannot. So you should not imitate Lord Krishna, but you should follow his instruction. What he has given in Bhagavad Gita, one has to follow. So there is a difference between imitating and following instruction. One has to follow Lord Krishna's instruction. So, so this section is about doing one's prescribed duty, even though one is not expected to, one doesn't have to, but still one is doing one's prescribed duty to set a right example. I hope that is clear. Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna.